This is my new compact, modular, and budget-friendly DIY rig for your iPhone. When I saw how most branded rigs offer super creative rigging solutions, but at the expense of locking you in their ecosystem and forcing you to buy their proprietary filters and accessories, I felt there has to be a cheaper and more filmmaker-friendly solution that lets me use all my existing filters and accessories without locking myself in any ecosystem. So after weeks of searching, buying, and testing, this rig is my answer. In this episode, I'll tell you about all the issues I found in branded phone rigs that inspired me to Frankenstein this DIY rig, and I'll show you how it can easily adapt to your shooting style while using your existing gear. FYI, everything I used here was bought with my own money, so there's no brand or product sponsorship in this episode. Let's dive in. So this is the updated and improved version of my first DIY rig from last year. It's more compact and even more modular than before. It's my solution to all the problems I found in these branded rigs and their ecosystems. I must admit that they do offer pretty amazing and innovative solutions, but their creative designs come with a set of deal-breaker problems that forced me to spend several weeks to find the best parts that fit well together to truly become a better rigging solution. The first problem I solved here is the limited compatibility in many of these branded rigs. They're usually designed to work with only one specific phone model, while my rig here is more versatile and is compatible with the iPhone 16, 15, and even the iPhone 14. Another thing is that these branded rigs force you to buy into their ecosystem of proprietary filters. A very unnecessary spending, not only because it will prevent you from using the filters that you already invested so much money in, but also because their filter selection is very limited, especially the diffusion filters that usually come in a black Pro Mist option. That's only one option from all the other diffusion filter choices we have in the market you'll miss out on, like these ones from Tiffin that you'll find listed in their famous triangle of diffusion chart. So why pay this much to limit your options and restrict your creativity this way, when you can find another solution that lets you use your existing filters without any restrictions? And that's the solution I found: a 67mm threaded filter mount that you can adapt to all your existing filters. I always recommend buying 82mm filters and use step-up rings to adapt to all your lenses. It's the smartest choice, not only because it would work with 99% of all mirrorless lenses in the market, but also because its diameter is wide enough to prevent any potential vignetting from the 13mm lens ultra-wide field of view, especially when you stack more than one filter on top of each other. The last drawback of branded rigs I'll mention is the cost of their proprietary filters and accessories, which can add up significantly if you end up going for a full kit. That's why I focused on finding an affordable solution that would save you money by allowing you to use your existing gear and minimize the need for any additional accessories. Okay, enough talking about problems. Let's talk about solutions. Before I break this rig down, let me first show you what it can do. First, when folded, it's so compact and portable that it can easily fit in your pocket. Unlike my previous rig that was relying on a clamp mechanism, this one takes full advantage of the MagSafe mount, which helped me break the record for the shortest setup time possible of only 1 second. The phone just snaps on and stays there without any fiddling with any clamps or screws. I know you're probably thinking, is MagSafe really safe? And can I trust it in keeping my phone in place? I honestly had the same concern till I tested it out and saw how strong this magnet really is. You can hear its pull force when it connects to the phone. It was pretty hard to shake it off my phone no matter how hard I tried. But it's still easy enough to pull off and take a call if I had to. All you need to do now is to mount your existing variable ND or any other lens filter you want. Then just connect the new micro SSD, which I'll talk about later. MagSafe also lets you easily switch between horizontal and vertical orientation. No need for any re-rigging or unscrewing. But the coolest thing about this rig is its handle. First, it helps you stabilize your shots by acting as a side grip in both vertical and horizontal setups. It also has this cool articulation that turns it into a top handle for low-angle shots. And of course, you can adjust its angle based on what feels most natural and comfortable for you. The handle also has a built-in Arca Swiss baseplate that connects to your tripod, and you can still adjust the tilt in your rig to get extra creative with your angles, like if you want to go for a top-down kind of frame. The final trick is how the handle also transforms into a mini tripod. That's when the tilt adjustment becomes pretty useful, just because it's so smooth that it feels just like a fluid head. And you can still adjust its tension with these screws on the side if you need to. But if you need to mount it on a bigger tripod, then you can use 2 of these quarter screw mounts to attach a Manfrotto baseplate. Now you can see the advantage in locking it with 2 screws, and that's to prevent it from any twisting while shooting. That's something you won't see in most of these branded rigs. They're designed in a way that forces you to mount them using only 1 screw at the bottom, which will eventually result in twisting if you barely handle it while shooting. Let's go back to our rig. Let me show you how you can push its capabilities even further by hooking it up to other accessories you probably have laying around. First, apart from its built-in top handle feature, you can use the top cold shoe mount to connect another top handle if you want to add some more mounting points, which you will need to mount a wireless mic receiver if you need proper audio. More on that later in the detailed breakdown. And if you need more mounting points, then you can rig it to any universal camera cage like this one. This also helps with stabilization while giving you a ton of extra mounting points for attaching more accessories such as LEDs, mics, or SSDs. It even comes with an additional top handle, which would be perfect for these super low to the ground angle shots. This was a very affordable high quality cage I used with other cameras. Then I realized it works perfectly with this rig as well. So if you have a similar universal camera cage, then I'm sure it'll work. If not, then I'll leave the link below. Okay, let's now go back to the studio to break everything down for you. So these are the components of the most basic setup that we have. It's made out of the SSD, the phone cover, and the 180-degree adapter. The reason why I have a phone cover and this specific one, mainly I would say I wouldn't want to shoot using the phone without any protection. So mostly it's about protection, but then also this magnetic ring here, for some reason I felt it's kind of a little bit stronger than the magnetic ring on the phone itself. You can just disconnect this and you can just connect it directly here. So the only concern you might have with this is that how it's sticking out a little bit and it might bother you while you're shooting this way. So what I did is that you can just take it out. You have the 180-degree adapter. You just connect it again, and you're done. So you can see there's almost no gap, like there's barely any gap, a very small gap between the phone and the SSD. I mean, I'm fine if you want to shoot it this way. I didn't really feel it needs any more fastening to the cover. But if you do, the rig from last year, I already recommended these Velcro stickers. If you already bought from last year, then you can just cut a piece and connect it on the cover itself. If not, then again, I'm going to leave the link below. So this is the second setup, which is made out of two additional parts. The first one is the magnetic 67mm lens filter and the handle. Let's start with the MagSafe filter mount. So this is pretty interesting because it has a couple of really interesting features. First of all, the compatibility. It has this, you know, the distance between the MagSafe and the filter mount itself. It differs from phone to phone. So I tested it with the 14, 15, and 16, and it worked perfectly with all of them, simply because this one can be retracted and extended. So when it's extended, it works with the 15 Pro Max and the 16 Pro Max. And I think when it's retracted, it's with the 14. The other interesting thing about it is that it has this rubber seal that protects it from any light leaks. So if you're going to use your phone without any phone cover, then you can just keep this rubber part on. And once you put it on, you can see that there's no light leak whatsoever. If you want to use the cover that I provided, and this is the second reason why you want to use this specific cover, all you need to do is to just remove this rubber piece, and then you can let it stick magnetically. As you can see, there's no light leak anywhere. Like there's 1/4 millimeter that you can see all around, but it didn't bother me at all in any shoot. And I mean, if you shoot and it did bother you, then you can just tape it as well. But I didn't have any experience where I saw any ghosting or any reflection from the lenses. A quick sidebar about lens filters and why it's important to have a high quality variable ND instead of a standard ND. You know, iPhones have fixed apertures, forcing you to control exposure only through ISO or shutter angle. So a variable ND is the only substitute we have for that missing aperture control. This only works in a bright setting like sunny outdoors. But in low light, unfortunately, we have no other choice other than to control your exposure through ISO and shutter angle. Of course, you can use any filter you already have, but the variable NDs I use and recommend are these ones from K&F Concept. I bought these from my own money, and they're not sponsoring this episode. The first one is a high-quality variable ND that's pretty light for such a compact setup. But the second one is a variable ND with a built-in polarizer. That's pretty important for when you're shooting anything with reflective surfaces and want to keep or remove the reflections, or if you want to remove the glare from the skies and make them more blue. Just keep in mind that this one is twice as heavy as the ND-only version, so just be a bit more careful, I'd say, when using it if you're planning to shoot something with a lot of action. Apart from their great built and optical quality, what I love the most about them is their side handles. They make it super easy to control the ND's strength with just one finger. Of course, I bought the 82mm version so it can work on my other camera lenses, and got a 67 to 82mm step-up ring to mount on this rig. I'll leave the links below. Now the third thing, you have a cold shoe mount here. It has another thing as well that we can use. So this is designed for the bottom side where you can connect it to this area. You screw it in and then you have like a quarter thread if you want to mount it on a tripod and so on. I didn't use this one because I just felt this is a lot more versatile, which I'm going to show you right now. So I already showed you how pretty strong it is in sticking to the phone. Of course, one setup I didn't demonstrate is how if you don't want to use any filters, then you can just connect it to the phone directly. So again, it's super strong, super reliable. I literally felt that this case has a stronger magnet, like it holds stronger than if I just put it on the phone directly. And again, it has this rubberized piece that kind of protects the phone. You know, it makes it a little bit harder to rotate, to kind of keep it in place, which is what you need. Of course, when we connect this and that, again, like both of them are pretty strong. I already demonstrated that. The couple of good things about it is that first thing, it has the cold shoe mount and it has a couple of quarter screw here. The only problem with this, I would say, is that if you're using the 13mm and you mount something like your SSD or something with an SSD holder, then probably the field of view of the 13mm will be able to see whatever is stuck here. This is why I am using this top cold shoe mount. Of course, I already talked about it has those screws and it has the articulation and so on. Now, these are the components of the third setup, which is mainly dedicated for audio. Of course, we know the main problem that we have with the iPhone is that it only has one USB-C. So if you want to connect an audio receiver and an SSD, then you won't be able to unless you have a USB-C hub. The best USB-C hub so far I found is Small Rig because it has a couple of good things. First of all, it's pretty compact. And then it has a cold shoe mount clip-on. The challenge mainly with this hub is once you connect the hub, you will need more power draw from the phone. And this is when the phone is going to prompt you a message that it cannot handle, like the power draw is too much and it's not going to operate anything. So you just need to stick the battery to the USB-C hub. And again, this is using the same Velcro stickers that I told you already about. You're just going to get the battery, going to stick it to the USB-C hub. Then this specific power cable, so it connects like this to be pretty streamlined. Then this one, because of its direction, you will just connect it. So now we have this contraption here with the battery and the USB-C hub, and it's powered. Now the remaining thing is you're going to put the SSD. You're going to find multiple inputs here. This is USB-C 2, this is 3.1, and then you have the USB-C 2 here as well. Of course, the 3.1 is the fastest one, so we're going to add the SSD to it. You can see it already lights up. And then if you want to add the mic receiver, so you will put this one here. I have the Holyland, and of course there's a Small Rig as well, which I feel both of them are pretty good. Like they're smallest and the most compact, I would say. Now we have this contraption. I know it looks a little bit convoluted, but in the end of the day, honestly, I couldn't get any smaller than this and something that would last long enough for you for maybe half-day shoot or maybe a whole day shoot. It depends on how much you use it. So now we need to put it on the handle. You might say, oh, okay, well, we can just put it on this one, but then if you do that, you won't be able to hold it anymore. And this is where this one comes in. So I would just put it on the side because I want to reverse this from being this way to be to the side, like 90 degrees. So you're just gonna screw it in and then connect this one here. Okay, so now you have this. And of course, this is gonna be dangling on the side. We're gonna get our rig connected to the top cold shoe mount, screw it in. And the great thing about this hub as well is that it's the perfect length to reach your phone. Honestly, I feel this is the most compact way to get both the SSD and the receiver for the mic. I mean, it depends on how big your hand is. It wasn't really bothering me much when I was holding it like this. Another thing I want to mention is that this cold shoe adapter is made of two parts. One of them is this cold shoe mount here, and then this top part. This top part comes on its own, and then the only thing I added more is just a washer between the screw and the adapter itself. So how much is that going to cost you anyway? Since the whole thing is so modular, it kind of depends on what you need. But the two most essential parts you need are the MagSafe filter holder and the MagSafe articulated handle for a total of $57. That's if you want to use your phone commando style, aka without a protective case, and provided you already have 67mm filters you can use natively on this mount. If not, then I highly recommend using this specific case for the reasons I already mentioned, and an 82mm step-up ring if you don't already have one, to adapt to your existing filters. Everything else is optional, of course, depending on what you need. whether it's the top handle with the audio accessories if you don't have one already, or the SSD for external recording up to 120 frames in ProRes, which can also work with some other branded rigs or phones. Also keep in mind that's just like any other SSD, so you can also use it to edit your footage on your computer. I'll put the links for everything in the description anyway.
You can see how this rig is so modular that it can inspire you to get creative beyond what I already showed you here. And I'm not saying it's better than all branded rigs out there, but it could definitely be one of the most practical and affordable choices to play with before you consider investing in any of these other rigs and get locked in their ecosystems. Hope you liked this episode. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.